Alright everyone, welcome to the Rugby League History channel. Hope you're all well. Tonight's video is going to be about the NRL and how they made a mess of the majors and the rationalisation in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Before I get into the video, if you have not yet subscribed, I'm at 499 subscribers at the moment, looking to get to 500 by the end of January. Thank you to everyone that's recently subscribed. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, so if you've got some spare time, just type in Rugby League History, you'll find me on there and go have a look. Getting into this video though, the NRL, I think they've made a real mess of the majors and rationalisation over the last 20 or 30 years or so. I'm just going to talk about that. Now, if you're new to Rugby League or if you're a bit young, because I know some of my followers are a bit young, you probably wouldn't remember the Super League war and all the keeper that happened there. As a result of the peace deal, 22 teams had to get down to 14. So in 1999, the peace deal was in effect from the year before. 22 teams had to get down to 14 teams. So that meant that clubs had to be killed off, major and all that keeper. So right off for the bat there, I think the whole thing was fucked pretty much. I think the whole Super League things fucked the game pretty much, and I'm pretty sure some of the older followers of my channel would agree with that. And then just with the way that the NRL dealt with the majors and killing off clubs, I think was wrong. So I think the NRL, they went about it the totally wrong way. Like, I think looking back on it and looking at how the EFL have done it, I think the EFL have done a great job of actually keeping the traditional fan bases, keeping the traditional clubs, and at the same time expanding the competition. If you look at the AFL competition, there's only 2 clubs from that original Melbourne setup that are not really there anymore. You got South Melbourne, who relocated to Sydney to become the Sydney Swans, and Fitzroy, who ended up having the major of Brisbane. And the EFL directors have already come out and said that they kind of regret how the whole Fitzroy thing went down. But if you look at the rest of the competition, they've kept that traditional base and expanded. With the Rugby League though, with the NRL, they've done the opposite. They've killed a lot of the traditional base, and at the same time, they've tried to expand, but they've lost a lot of fans in the process. And I've seen that firsthand, especially with clubs like North Sydney, Western Suburbs, Balmain, those type of clubs. I used to go to a lot of North Sydney matches in the New South Wales Cup when I lived in Australia. If I wasn't going to the Newtown games or if I wasn't going to the Parramatta ones, I was at North Sydney Oval. I used to get there on game day, get off at the railway station, and you wouldn't even think that North Sydney even had a Rugby League club for 91 years in the top grade. There's none of the pubs in the area support the club. There's no banners. There's nothing to suggest that they have a Rugby League club. Even the pub that's directly across the road, they've got nothing to do with the club. When you go to the grounds, a ground that used to get between, you could see 10 to 20,000 fans, sometimes even more, for game day, there's only 200 or 300 people that show up. Maybe on a good day, you might get 1,000 if you're lucky. When the team run out for the club song, there's just a couple of golf claps and a couple of "Come on you Bears" or "Come on North Sydney" or something like that. But it's a very hollow experience, considering I remember growing up watching North Sydney. They'd be near the top of the table, finals club. All the fans were there. It would have been a great day out back then. But to go there now, it's a very hollow experience. And even, I remember going back to the railway station after the game and having my North shirt on. And I'd have comments from people that either live in North Sydney or people that are at the station that go, "What's that jersey?" Or North Sydney still a club? I thought they were killed off or they died. So interest in that entire area for Rugby League, even other suburbs in the North Sydney region, it's just totally gone. The NRL lost a lot of fans by what they did to North Sydney. Same with Western Suburbs and Balmain. I know a lot of Balmain and Western Suburbs fans that either stopped watching Rugby League altogether and they've started watching AFL or they've gone to football, or you've got some others that they do go for another club, but you can tell they're not as passionate about that club as they were as their original club. Like, for instance, I knew one Western Suburbs fan that ended up becoming a Penrith fan, but they wouldn't watch the Rugby League week in, week out. They might tune in once every 6 weeks just to see how Penrith's going. But the interest in Rugby League had pretty much died with that pacing, and I'm pretty sure that's the case with a lot of clubs out there that were merged or killed off. I think the NRL really should have thought more about what they did. I really think that they should have kept that traditional supporter base. They should have kept the clubs that were there from the beginning, the clubs that built the game, and at the same time, have your North Queensland, have your Brisbane, have your Canberra and all that keep it. Also, I think they really made a mess of the whole Western Red situation. Adelaide, I think that was a golden opportunity for Rugby League to really expand into those areas. And I think those clubs were poorly supported, and as a result, they've folded. And Rugby League doesn't really have a foothold in those places. They might have on a very small basis, but they're in no comparison to what the AFL, cricket and football have in those cities. Another thing that really boils me piss is the fact that you get clubs like the Gold Coast in New Zealand. Now, I know that I might have subscribers of the Gold Coast or New Zealand fans. Try not to get offended, but it really annoys me that clubs like North Sydney, Belmead, Western Suburbs, Newtown, all that, they were only just given the one go. So they were given the one go. Oh, sorry, you're losing money, or you're not doing well. All right, we're going to merge or kill you off, and that's the end of it. 91 years, sorry, it doesn't count. Don't care if your foundation club out. Then you get a club like the Gold Coast. They're in their 5th incarnation at the moment. They've already had 4 previous goals of having a club up there, field each time. The Gold Coast Titans have been poor on the field, very poor off the field. Munster with 34 million quid in debt, and the NRL just come across and went, all right, we'll bail you out. North Sydney were only 4 million in debt with the money that they built with the money that they spent to build their stadium up the Central Coast. As a result, they were pretty much bankrupt and 4 million in debt. And the NRL just went, right, let's get shot of yours. But with the Gold Coast, they get, how many chances have they had? Same with New Zealand, they've had their problems in the past. And for some reason, they kept getting propped up. And, we need a team now and all this keeper. It's the same, another thing that really annoys me, is the fact that when it comes to on-field performance and off-field performance, it only seems to be the Sydney clubs that get scrutinised. So Newcastle come last 3 years in a row and everyone just kind of goes, oh well, they're poorly run, they're having a bad time, they'll be back up there, they'll snap out of it. Can you imagine if a Sydney club come last 3 years in a row and had those problems? In the past, the NRL media, and it'll happen again in the future, I guarantee you, whenever a Sydney club does poorly on the field and off the field, straight away in the media, we have to merge, we have to relocate, we have to send them. It seems like the clubs outside of Sydney, they can play poorly, they can be poorly run, they can have bad results, they can do whatever they want, and it seems like the NRL will bail them out. Whereas with the Sydney club, it's kind of like they have to be perfect, they have to have good seasons constantly, they have to be making money, they have to do this. There's also the other argument, some people go, there's just too many clubs in Sydney, the market's saturated, and we have to get rid of clubs for that reason. But if you look at Melbourne's got, I think, pretty much exactly the same amount of clubs when it comes to the AFL, and they're doing great. I think they're doing in some ways better than the NRL, and they're expanding and they're reaching their tentacles out all over the place. I think also another thing about the NRL is that it seems like they don't really value tradition. They don't really value the old clubs like they do with the AFL. I've actually thought about it once. I thought to myself, I went, if the NRL CEOs or the NRL people at the time in the 90s run the AFL, there'd pretty much only be 3 AFL clubs from Melbourne surviving today: Carlton, Collingwood and Essendon. You'd have no Richmond, you'd have no Footscray Western Bulldogs, there'd definitely be no Fitzroy, there'd be no South Melbourne, there'd be no St Kilda. All those clubs would be gone. North Melbourne would be gone. I just think that, in conclusion, as I've said earlier, I think the AFL and how they've done things, that's how the NRL should have done it. They should have valued the traditional supporter base, It should have kept the traditional clubs and expanded, because I think if they would have done that, the NRL would have been bigger than what it is currently. Anyways, everyone, that's my video on the topic. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below if you did. Click that like button if you did. If you are enjoying the content but not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. I'm at 499 subscribers. And this will probably be my last video for about 4 to 5 days, maybe more. I'm currently, as of tomorrow I'll be working away from home. I'll be down south towards Peterborough there. So unless I can get Wi-Fi at the hotel and do a quick video here and there, I won't be doing any videos until I get back. So anyways, everyone, this is Rugby League History signing off, and I'll catch you all later in the next video. Alright, ta-ra now.